welcome back to my YouTube channel. Where in the Herd is Tiffany. We have a special guest today, and I'm super excited. And I'm excited because we have not really touched upon this subject on the channel. So I'm excited. So Jaymie, go ahead and tell us who you are, what you do, and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Jaymie Woods, and I guess when it comes to traveling, I actually didn't start to travel until I got laid off of work. I had a job for 16 years, worked for an oil company, human resources, diversity kind of stuff, and got laid off in 2015. And a couple weeks after I got laid off, a friend had a business trip to Cape Town, South Africa. So I was like, my schedule is suddenly clear, and I'll go. And after that, I came back and was just like in love with travel. So
and I love Cape Town. Like, Cape Town is so beautiful.
yes, to me, Cape Town is everything. It's everything you could want in a
vacation.
You got your mountains, you got beach, you got, if you like wine, if you like food, if you like shopping, just whatever it is you like, you can find it there.
Did you see the penguins?
I didn't go down to, I think that's Simontown.
I don't know I didn't go see any of the girls.
Steph has them. I didn't go. I didn't do that.
I went and got my hair braided instead of going to see the penguin. Now I kind of regret it because they look so cute.
But that was like 2 hours, and I just didn't. The trip, I think, was 10 days, and it just turned out to not be enough time.
Yeah, I went, actually shout out to Howard University because that's who I went to Cape Town with. Our dean is from Cape Town. And so we took a free trip as a student council president to Cape Town, South Africa. And we did more social work stuff, but all expenses paid. I can't complain. So it was a great trip going to see Table Mountain and going to see Mandela Sail and different things like that. So
yep, same stuff I did.
Exactly. So Cape Town is a great destination if you are looking for a destination to go to in Africa or South Africa in particular. So that's how you kind of started your travel journey, right?
Yep. So I started traveling. After that, from 2015, I just decided actually to not go straight back to another job, just to kind of live. And then in 2017 is when they discovered I had a tumor on my spine.
Okay. And wait, before we jump into that, talking about taking time off to work, let's address that really quickly. I was laid off as well. And so that kind of, although I've been traveling clearly before I was laid off, it definitely, when you don't have a job, you can travel a whole lot more. So instead of saying,
and then what I found out, because it's been like almost 7 years for me now, is I've got plenty of time, but just not plenty of money.
Right. That's the caveat to it. So you got more time but less money, and then the other way you got more money, less time. So yeah, there you got to try to find that balance between the two. But yeah, I can say, hey, I'm not working right now. I can go to spend 2 weeks in Ghana. I can do these different things. Whereas I couldn't do that. I had to call my employer and be like, hey, can I take this time off from work? Which sucks, right? But it's something that we have to do in this field. So I just want to point that out, that clearly, obviously, there's two sides of the coin. But when you are not working, laid off, whatever the case, it may be okay to take a little time, 6 months off. We've been working all our life, and not that I'm old, but we've been working all our life. So I think it's okay to kind of take some time if you're laid off or if you can't go back to work, to take that time to travel.
The way I looked at it is that I was able to have these experiences. So I got my severance from work. And so some people decided to go get another job and kind of bank the severance. I decided early on that I would basically go through my severance. But then the way I felt was, if I was working, I wouldn't have this lump sum of money.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Sorry.
Absolutely. So I feel like that's a good way. We have options in life, right? And your option was to go see the world, because honestly, memories last a lifetime. This is something you can tell your kids, your grandkids, and you'll always have these experiences. So sometimes we choose something latter because we have years of experience in jobs. Why not get an experience in travel and culture and different things like that? Okay, so let's kind of move on. So you were talking about your tumor. So let's hear more about that.
Okay, and so this is where it kind of the two kind of ties in, because when I discovered that I had the tumor on my spine, I really felt I was happy that I had those experiences, because when I had the tumor on my spine, and so I had a 14-hour surgery to remove it.
Okay.
That was initially supposed to only be 8, but once they got in the surgery, I like to say the tumor liked me so much it wanted to stay. They discovered that it was actually growing blood vessels attaching itself to my spine.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up waking up from surgery completely paralyzed from the waist down.
Oh.
And that was completely unexpected, but it's what happened. I spent like 6 months paralyzed. The doctor had told me before surgery, like, you'll be walking out of the hospital after 4 days and a 3-week recovery. Like I said, I woke up completely paralyzed from the waist down.
Wow.
Between the hospital I had the surgery in, and then I had to go to a rehabilitation hospital to learn how to just get from the bed into the wheelchair.
Wow.
You know, put on pants, you know, just basic stuff. I had to learn how to do all of those things. Plus, I had to have regular rehabilitation, physical therapy. But in total, I spent like a month in the hospital. Okay. And came home in a wheelchair, completely paralyzed, all of that. So when I had traveled before the surgery, you know, I would try to climb mountains and volcanoes and all of that stuff. And it made me grateful for those things that I did, because now I was at a point where I felt like I couldn't do those things. And I may never be able to again. So it made me grateful for those experiences, you know, because I could have spent that time going to work every day.
Right.
And my memories would have just been of work or things that I bought.
And that's a lesson, right, in itself. I think with the pandemic too, I think this time is teaching us that we have to do things now. We don't have time to wait, because we don't know what life is going to bring. Some people, you know, that said that they were going on that trip or doing X, Y, and Z this year are not here to even do that. So I think that's an important lesson that we're learning now. And in your situation is to take life, you know, at its moments and do those things that you can, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yep. My thing now is do what you can while you can.
Exactly. I like that motto. Okay, so after rehabilitation, how were you? Okay, go ahead.
You go ahead with your question. Sorry.
No, go back. You can finish. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it took me a while before I traveled again. I wanted to wait till I was at least out of the wheelchair. Okay. And part of that was because I had read these horror stories about, you know, kind of just like the airlines do your luggage sometimes, how they could just throw it and things get lost. My initial wheelchair was one where the wheels had to come off, the cushion had to come off, the back had to fall down, all of this stuff. You know, it was kind of what I consider like a heavy duty wheelchair. And I didn't want to travel with that.
Right. And so, I have heard of them throwing wheelchairs and stuff around, so you weren't too far off the mark of being.
Yeah, so I waited until I got over being paralyzed and I could at least walk. Although when I could walk, it was either with a walker or crutches. But I was okay with that. I didn't need to take the wheelchair when I would travel. Okay. So the first place I went, I remember, was Las Vegas. It was a domestic trip. And it was for my sister's 40th birthday, and I rented a it wasn't a wheelchair, more like a scooter.
Oh, okay. So you can, kind of like
so I could ride down Las Vegas Boulevard and that. My sister was walking and she was jealous because she had to walk.
Right. That strip is real long in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. But that was my first trip. That was a domestic trip. So then after that, I got more comfortable, you know, and with things like even driving, because I couldn't drive for about a year because I can't drive with my legs. I have to drive with my hands, and my car wasn't equipped. And then somebody told me that they had some issue.
Jaymie, explain that. When you say you can't drive with your feet, you drive with your hands. Explain that a little bit more.
Okay. So my legs are not, even though like once I could finally walk, my legs were still too weak. To be able to deal with the pedals. So there's equipment that they can put on a car in order to so I drive with my hands. So there's a little lever that they put in the car. And so I press that with my left hand. And then it's kind of like, to me at least, it's kind of like the old school club. Do you remember the club they used to attach to your steering wheel? It was a safety device.
Oh, the club. Okay.
Yeah, so it's that's what it reminds me of, except it attaches to both my gas pedal and my brake. And then it has a long, kind of like a stick, and then it has a lever.
Okay.
And I press out to brake, and I pull it towards me to drive.
Ew, interesting.
And rental car companies have to make modifications available. It's part of the ADA, Americans with Disability Act. Anything that they would rent to the public, they have to be able to make those modifications. And different people have different kinds of disabilities and need different types of modifications. So I can reserve a rental car just like you can reserve a rental car, you know, go online and do whatever. But then I have to call usually 24 hours in advance to let them know what equipment I need.
Oh, okay.
So, because some people, you know, like I'd normally ask for it's a left hand gear thing, and then like a spinner knob. What old people usually have to help them turn the steering wheel, the little knob.
Okay. That's what you, so wait, so this is available domestically. Is this available internationally? Have you tried driving internationally?
I haven't tried it internationally, but my thought is US has ADA laws that just apply in the US. So I wouldn't necessarily expect all rental car companies. I'm not sure if it's an American rental car company like an
that they would do
Avis or Alamo or something that you're renting overseas, if they would have to have that available. And they have that 24-hour requirement, but it really only takes about 5 minutes to put the equipment on the car.
That is super interesting. I had no idea, but that would be something to like look into, because some of these companies are overseas. So that would be something that, you know, just to ask about, like, hey, what is the policy for being overseas? Okay, so that's
I'm just not sure how that governing works. Like if they once they're over there, if they have to follow the U.S. laws, or if they're governed by the laws of whatever country that they're in.
Okay, so that would be, I would love to ask you, you know, later and be like, hey, did you ever find out what happened with that? So that would be interesting. So that's car. What about airplanes? Have you had any difficult, or do you have to ask for help getting to the airplane or on the airplane or anything like that?
Yes. I could think of one time I had an issue, but basically in general, like you buy your plane ticket like you normally do. And when you're getting your plane ticket online, it normally has where it's asking you if you need any kind of special accommodations, and it'll ask you about wheelchair stuff. It'll ask you if you just need wheelchair assistance, like getting to the gate. They also have wheelchairs, like the aisle chairs, like if you actually need assistance to your actual seat. They have really skinny wheelchairs that'll take you up the aisle. And I've never needed that. To the gate for me has been fine because I waited till I could at least walk. So I usually have my crutches that I can walk. And I usually travel with my crutches and my walker. And so that my walker, they'll check for me. And I can get wheelchair service. So pre-COVID, when you could do curbside check-in, that was better, because then I could just go up to the curbside and they would bring the wheelchair out. But now I have to go in. But usually when you go in to the counter, you can usually go through, they have like a special line, like, you know how regular lines can be super long. I don't usually have to stand in that line. I can either go to, it's basically along with the first class line. But so it's either first class and they'll have like special assistance or whatever. And I could go up there and kind of check in and request the extra assistance. And then somebody will pick me up in a wheelchair. And I actually love wheelchair service. I tell people, like, it's like traveling with disabilities. It has some challenges, definitely. But it's also like the new VIP.
Right, because you get escorted to the. Okay, wait. So what happens if you're traveling with your child or something like that? Do they also get a chance to go with you as well, even though they're not in the wheelchair?
So like when you go, so whoever's in your party, they can go with you. So when the wheelchair is taking me through the airport, I normally can go through security quicker.
Okay.
Either they'll do the whole, excuse me, and people will move out the way because it's somebody pushing, somebody in a wheelchair and it's the airport worker. Or again, there's either a special lane similar to a first class lane, or, it's first class, it's the same lane. So, but I always go through security quick. I still have to do the same stuff at the security TSA checkpoint. So I still have to take my shoes off. I normally have to walk through that thing, but they ask me, if I can walk, and, since I can, and they'll give me a cane. They have canes at the checkpoint so that I can use the cane to lean, and I can stand long enough to like put my hands up and stand still. And they'll put the wheelchair through. They have another door where they basically can put the wheelchair through.
So Jaymie, that means you need to get TSA pre-check. You don't have TSA pre-check?
Ma'am,
you need, as much as you travel.
To me, I don't really need it because.
Well, no, the number one reason why I like TSA pre-check
is to not have to take off your shoes.
I don't want to take off my shoes, my jacket, my laptop. That to me, girl, if I don't have it for nothing else, obviously besides getting through that line quicker, like. If I don't have TSA pre-check, I'm like, well, this is so ghetto. Like, why do I gotta take off my shoes and I gotta get undressed just to go through a line for 2 seconds?
I get it. And so, like I said, I do still have to do those things, but I do still get through. I cut straight to the front of the line.
Yeah, so you get there a little bit quicker. Because to me, that would be easier for you not to have to remove something. You gotta remove your shoes, put it back on, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's a lot too. And remember, TSA pre-check is what, $85 for 5 years? Like, it's like $15 a year. So to me, it's like super worth it. I would say try it and then, super cheap. Try it and let me know if you see a difference, girl. Once you get it, you'll be like, oh my God, why didn't I get this?
And I've had it on, like, how they'll give you a trial sometimes. So I've had it before, but not since I've
started going back to travel.
Yes, since I've been disabled and traveling.
So that's we get through the airport. What about when you get to your international destinations? Like, are you able to do, like, what activities can and can't you do? Are there let's talk about that. What about activities and stuff? What types of activities
so in terms of activities and stuff, because that's on me, and so I just have to look at that kind of stuff beforehand to see what I can and what I can't do, and some things I just can't do. And with the crutches, though, there is a lot that I can do. So, like, for example, this wasn't my first trip. It was probably my first solo trip. I did like about 2 weeks in Thailand and Laos with long layovers, like a 23-hour layover and a 9-hour layover in Tokyo. And I was traveling with the crutches and the walker. And like I said, I'm usually using the crutches. And so in Thailand, the main thing was I just have to make sure that, one, there's activities that I can do. So I have to ask questions about like stairs and things like that. I found that I would do more group things. It just felt more comfortable since I was solo.
And people can help you out if you needed something.
That's why I like the group things. It was a group of people, so you weren't just kind of dependent on the kindness of strangers, which I've had to do. And strangers have helped. But, I just felt better with the group. There's a guide that I'm paying. And there's people in this, collective group that will help.
Watch out for you. Exactly.
Yeah. So I felt better doing more. So I did more kind of group stuff. And I actually like guided tours anyways.
Right. Yeah.
Because I feel like you learn more about what it is, you're seeing instead of you just walking around.
So so some of the activities I did in Thailand, like, man, people probably gonna get me for this one. I did like the elephant riding, or we did.
I was able to do that.
Okay, you were able to do that.
Okay. Yep, I did it in Phuket. Did an elephant ride, so I was able to do that.
Did you do the boat ride? It's like where you get.
I didn't do the boat ride. I didn't even try.
Okay. So would something like that be difficult for you because you have to get inside the boat, sit down, and then kind of get back up?
It depends on the boat. And I'm actually trying to think if I've done any boat rides.
Okay.
But I know because like one of my dream trips, and it's actually for my seventh continent, would be Antarctica. And I know I can't do Antarctica because the ships they have tenders. They don't go, you don't get off on Antarctica. You got to take a little boat that'll take you to, and I can't get in a tender.
Oh, okay. So
That would be too difficult for me to do.
Okay, so that would be an example of something that you couldn't do. Okay.
Yeah.
And so do you have like any like personal stories where you felt like it was too difficult to do and you tried, or like if you could write to anybody, like a hotel, an airline, like what are some accommodations that you feel like would be more helpful when you are traveling? That's already in
the
place.
first time I think I had an issue at a hotel was actually this past summer, and it was in Alaska.
Okay.
And that was because, and like I said, within the U.S., you know, they're usually pretty good. And I'll say even, you know, outside of the U.S. in terms of if you know you need accommodations and you request certain things about giving you what you're asking for. So one of the things is I know I can't do stairs.
Okay.
I've got some other stuff, some new stuff going on now, and my left leg just won't lift.
Okay.
So either somebody has to like manually lift my leg and put it on the stair, or I can't go upstairs. So in Alaska, it was a hotel, and the damn hotel didn't have any elevator, and they put me on like maybe the second floor or something. And it's like I can't go up those stairs.
Okay.
And it was, you know, a second floor, you know, it's a whole flight of stairs. Because I also had, you asked about activities. So one of the activities I did in Alaska was it was a bus ride to the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
And every time you got off the bus and had to get back on, I couldn't lift my leg to get on and off the bus because it was a regular bus. I was thinking it might have been a van, but it was a bus. So, but there was a guy, you know, one of the guide people, and, you know, he just put my legs up, and it was maybe 2 or 3 stairs, you know, and then I could pull myself up, and then it was fine. But it's one of those things that you just don't really want to have to ask people to help you with. So Alaska was a difficult trip for me. I had a friend with me, and I just felt like she's on vacation too. You know, and I needed a little more help than what I thought I would need.
Okay.
And I just didn't feel comfortable. So after that trip, I was like, okay, I need to give it a rest. Like I said, I've got some new stuff going on now. And so until I get this kind of figured out.
So I guess I can definitely totally understand where you're coming from, you know, about not wanting to ask. But I think on the other hand, as your friend, I mean, she know what she's
and she didn't mind. And it's not that and so this is one of the things, because before Thailand, I did 2 weeks in Spain, like Barcelona. We flew into Barcelona and then went to Morocco, then Lisbon, then from Madrid flew back home. And it was me and my friend, and it was kind of a birthday trip. And on that trip, I can't even remember where I was going with that now.
Were you talking about
she was very helpful.
Okay.
And sometimes people can be a little too helpful. Like I'm in a Facebook group with people like with wheelchair users, and a lot of those people have been in wheelchairs like since childhood. And it's to the point where some people actually put like spikes on their wheelchair handles to keep people from just pushing them.
Oh wow.
And when I was in Thailand, there was a girl that I met, another Black girl, that was, I can't remember where she was originally from, but she was, you know, visiting, and she actually asked me, what do you need help with? And I was so touched by that, because it's not a question you normally get asked. People trying to be helpful, you know, will tend to do stuff for you. And so because I remember my boyfriend, the first time he came here, he was like, you know, he thought I was going to be a mean wheelchair woman, and told me some stories about people being mean in wheelchairs. And it's not so much that people are being mean, it's that there's so much that you're not able to do, that when there's something that you can, you want to be able to do it yourself. And you also have that guilt. No matter how nice people are, you know, you still have that, you know, internal feeling of like us, like with my friend, you know, she was more than happy to help me, but I just didn't feel like she should. Like, this is her trip too. You know, I didn't pay for her to be here to be my helper. That would be one thing, but she paid on her own. So she paid for her vacation, not to help me with everything, you know?
Right.
And that's why Thailand was such a big kind of trip for me, because it was my first time being solo. And I liked it so much because I had just gotten my controls for my car. So that whole year before that, or actually maybe 2 years before that, I couldn't drive myself anywhere unless I had a rental car. And so when you're always on somebody else's time, it's something you are very aware of. Like I said, no matter how nice people are. So if I say, Tip, can you come take me to Target? You're going to come pick me up, take me to Target. So if on the way to Target, I decide, oh no, I want to stop by Walmart instead, or, you know, change my mind, do all this kind of stuff, I'm aware I'm on Tiffany's time.
Right.
And I asked Tiffany to take me to Target. So I need to stick with the plan.
Right.
So, you know, just things like that. And again, no matter how nice Tiffany is, you know, whatever you need, I'll help you, that kind of stuff. You don't want to come across as being demanding or, you know, that kind of stuff. So Thailand was my first chance to be
like independent, right? And I feel like even with or without a disability, that's what solo traveling does. It allows you to think outside the box. It allows you to be like, oh shoot, there is nobody here to help me, so I need to figure it out. Okay.
Yes, I love that about solo travel.
Whether that's directions, whether that's eating, whether that's something else, like even with the language and type. Like, and that is one of the reasons why I love solo travel. And I'm pretty sure once you got off of that trip, you felt accomplished. Like, I can actually do this. Like, and I don't need my boyfriend. I don't need a friend. Like, I can handle this on my, even with the challenges. Like, that is something.
Yeah. And like I said, in certain things you just know in advance. So like in Thailand, I knew I wouldn't be able to walk as much. I knew I would have to take transportation, even if it was just going down the street, something that you might just say, oh, I can walk that. For me with the crutches, you know, it's like, no, I can't walk that. I'll have to take a taxi or something. So I knew I would have to do, or a Grab.
Right. What have we exact to them taxis? Ooh, I got a story about taxis in Thailand. But that's a whole nother conversation.
I kind of got one too about it taking like forever to get somewhere. And it's like, how I'm in here? I've been in here like 20 minutes, and now what it's saying, I'm longer to my destination than what I was when I first got in here. Like, what's up with that?
They're definitely scammers. Me and that taxi guy, we was about to fight, okay? Because I was like, you better take me to my destination and take me back to that hotel. So I think that's a whole thing. But anyway, I love Thailand in general, and it's funny because Thailand, technically, I went with my cousin for 7 days, and then technically I was solo for a couple days. So I was
similar. So that same friend that I went to Alaska with, who was also the same friend who I went to South Africa with, she's world traveler. She's very well traveled. And so for Thailand, she was going for her birthday, her and her daughter. And so the dates that she had, her plane ticket was like $1,200. So I was like, I don't have $1,200 to pay for a plane ticket. So I found that if I went earlier, like 2 weeks earlier, the ticket was $500. And then I had some credit card points. So my ticket was like $250 to Thailand.
Oh yeah, that's good.
So yeah.
Talk about travel hacking. I got a video on that. We'll post that one. But using your credit cards and your point is something that's that needs to be utilized when you're traveling, you know, so that you don't have to pay all that. Because I was like, ooh, $1,200. Yeah, we didn't pay that much when we went in. Maybe we paid like
if I would have had to pay $1,200, I wouldn't have been able to go. I didn't have $1,200 to pay, and I knew Thailand was really cheap. So I figured, like, even if at the end of the day I end up spending about that same amount of money, at least I've had some experiences. And then just that chance to be able to be solo and move about. And like you said, change my mind, do what I wanted to do. I went on a tour the first night I got there. And the second day, because it was a long travel. I had a 9-hour layover in Tokyo, and I went out and did a tour and switched airports and, just the timing, the distance.
Yeah,
so, and then got there and did a tour. I loved the tour, but the whole next day, I was dead ass tired. So it's kind of like either I can chill today or I'm going to wear myself out somewhere during this trip. I got 3 weeks total. I had 2 weeks by myself and then like a week with her. So I decided
that's the good thing about solo travel. It allows you to do things on your own terms. So that day you rested instead of asking somebody, hey, can we rest or discuss it?
Yeah, or just falling out. Wait until, it's something that, and I didn't have anything planned that day.
Right. So it worked out.
So, instead of waiting until I've got a tour or something I've paid for or something I really want to do, and then just not be able to do it or not be able to enjoy it because I'm too tired, I was like, let me rest myself today. And then I like when I travel out of the country, I like small boutique hotels. And in that hotel, like they noticed that I hadn't left out of my room that day because they were like, and when I did finally come out to get some food, they were like, if you hadn't came out, we were coming in looking for you because they noticed.
Yeah, that the same way when I was in Thailand, I stayed at a hostel in Phuket when I was by myself, and they started to know my name and different things like that. So when it's the smaller ones, they definitely will look out for you, which is cool too, especially as a solo traveler. So this has been a great conversation, and I learned stuff too because I didn't know some of this stuff either. So this is great to learn about and just to be aware, like you said, the simple things that I'm like, okay, sometimes I'm cheap and I'm like, oh, I don't want to take a taxi. I can walk it, right? So some of those things, if I'm with somebody else, then I have to be conscious of those different things. And like you said, you brought up some great points about conscious of it helping too much. Nobody think that they're helping too much. You know what I'm saying? So as we wrap up, tell us what would be this, if you were talking to somebody that was in a similar situation like you, like what would you tell them as it relates to travel, or what advice would you give them?
So I would tell them, first of all, that it's still possible, because a lot of people feel like, oh, I got this disability now, so I can't. So the first thing I would tell them is that, yes, you can. It may have to be done differently. Right. Even just like for me, my cousin had a birthday dinner the other day, and I have to check restaurants, like, do they have stairs? Do they have a step? Will I be able to get in? Is the seating, downstairs? If it's upstairs, do they have an elevator? I have to check those things out. And it's the same thing as when you travel. You just have to, do a little more groundwork.
Right.
But it's still possible. And like I said, going through the airport and stuff, when you're in the US, like, to me, it's kind of like do VIP. I get on planes first, because when they wheel you up to your gate, then when you're ready, your flight is ready to board, the people needing special assistance, when they do that call, it's usually before first class people. I'm already sitting on the plane.
Right. Ready to go.
Oh, and then the other thing about when you fly, so even if you're flying like a Spirit, you can call, and this is if you have wheelchair service. I don't know about anything else, but if you're getting wheelchair service, you can call, and you can't request like a specific row seat, but I can call the airline and say, I need a window seat. Even Spirit, I've done it. Okay. I need a window seat, and they'll assign me to a seat, because I don't pay for seats.
Right.
And it usually goes for me and whoever my travel companion is. So I had went to Hawaii, and I was coming from Houston. My boyfriend was coming. He lives in DC, and we met in like Atlanta. And so all the flights that we were on together, I was able to get us seats together, because we were flying basic economy. Delta had the tickets for like $250 or maybe $350 each, or round trip, but it was basic economy. So, I can still get kind of assigned seats. Like I said, I can't pick my row, but
you can pick the right.
I like a window seat.
Right.
And it is.
I'm team window as well. No, so this was Jaymie. This was absolutely wonderful, and I think that people that are watching it, whether or not they have a mobility disability or not, I feel like they will. You drop some gems for us to think about and to be aware about, and then you also are letting us know that it is possible still to travel. And I want people to know that I don't care whether it's a size, whether it's how you look, whether it's what you can do, like travel is still possible, and I want people to continue to do it. So this was great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on.
You are so welcome. Thanks for
I really
having me.
I really enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully we'll do more stuff like this, because I think it's important to be aware of different challenges that people have. And
So
so
we will definitely have to do this when I come back. I have a big trip planned
okay.
to Rwanda and Uganda, where I will go gorilla trekking and on safari solo.
Okay, so yeah, we probably we may have to do another part so we can see how that went, because I'm super
We will
interested in that
definitely
topic as
have to
well.
talk after that. I don't know if I've bitten off more than I can chew or not. I'll try it. But like what we were saying, like about, and I know we're going over, but for that stuff, I'm doing that in Uganda, and I do have a tour company that's helping me plan that stuff. But we've even had to change one of the hotels because it had a step. So it doesn't even have to be a series of stairs. But right now, I'm hoping that by the trip in September, I'll at least be able to walk with my crutches. But right now, I'm in my wheelchair. I can't walk. I can barely stand. And so there was a step or two to get into the restaurant to be able to eat. And I was like, I can't do that. So we had to, while we're planning my itinerary stuff, had to switch the hotels.
Right, and that's all part of planning, and we all know that when we travel, things absolutely change. So yeah, we may have to have you back on the channel, but this was great. And so we're gonna put Jaymie's socials in, so you can follow her on Instagram or follow her on Facebook, and you can ask her further questions if you have similar problems or issues or whatever you just have a question about. I'm pretty sure she will be opening to answering those questions. But thank you so much, Jaymie. This was great.
Thank
and
you.
we will see you next time.
Okay.